I think the Ferrari I bought was one of the worst financial decisions of my life. Do you want to hear a crazy analogy?
Yes, please.
It's about yogurt, and I can do this.
This is better than expected.
If I quit my job, we'll be in financial ruin.
Welcome
What are
to
we
the
doing?
Get Real Estate Podcast.
Oh, I'm excited. Wow.
We've got real questions, real answers, and some real estate.
And some real estate.
But the goal is to interview the most interesting people we can find.
And I made the cut?
And there's an ongoing internal employee award where you have been voted as an interesting person we know.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
This is a true story. It's a good thing. And in fact, if you ask anyone to, it's not just like, it's an LA thing. It's like, that guy's so interesting. You know, it's like there's so many interesting stories, and I've got a list of things, and you don't even know what I'm going to ask.
I'm like the Dusaki's commercial guy, the most interesting man in the world,
Yes,
but in real estate?
I mean, you might just be the most interesting man in the world.
Well, I'm going to take it.
We'll find out.
Humble today. The audience
Good
will
to
find out.
have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you.
You've been busy.
Yeah, kind of a crazy year.
Every time I see you, because I see you in the office a lot, we work together. I mean, it's phone call, hold on, phone call here, I'm on a Zoom. You just came in here. You're like, hey, can't talk. I've got another Zoom for 45 minutes and I'll be in there. I'm ready to shoot right away.
Boom, boom, boom.
People are busy. We got to move quickly.
We do, and drink cold brew coffee constantly.
There's so many questions. So we got the most, I actually have, related to your award, Most Interesting Man in the World. I have a question that I think is pretty neat.
Okay.
What's the most interesting way you've gotten a listing or a deal? And in fact, I was told by Mike Madigan one thing that he knows. Do you want me to tell you what it was, or should I wait to see?
I'm curious to see what the word on the street is.
His answer was a guy that was listing his house saw your Ferrari and was like, I'm hiring you.
That has happened. That has happened. I think the Ferrari I bought was one of the worst financial decisions of my life. But then when I run the numbers...
When you run the numbers...
Amazing people, amazing clients, picked up probably 3 or 4 2 million plus clients, but it's not the most interesting story. The most interesting and random story was actually my largest listing ever. $3 million listing. I was literally walking around the street talking to people because I was trying to find a broom to clean the main entrance of a $3 million house that I was listing. Yes. And I met this random guy who I thought was a construction worker who just so happened to be the owner of another $3 million house. And I met him, took my business card. A year later, he called me and listed his house.
Really?
Yes. So when in doubt, if you're looking for multi-million-dollar listings, look for brooms from your neighbors.
This is what I'm talking about. To our audience out there. Is that not interesting? I mean, it's just there's so many things. All right, so you think, there's one interesting story, that's it. There's a lot more.
I think so.
All right, here's what we got. When I first met you, you were working at Target.
Yep.
You were running a real estate business at a Target.
Correct.
You started doing a couple deals a month. I go, that's a lot of deals for someone working at Target. Then we were seeing 5 deals a month. Then we were seeing 10 deals a month. And I'm like, hey, bud, you might want to quit that job. I think you still kept it for another year and a half.
So long.
Eventually, at the end, you were doing 20 deals a month. And now this is a true story, guys. 20 deals a month. He was working full-time at Target, running the operation in the back of Target. I mean, Target can't get mad at you now. In fact, they should appreciate the story.
I don't know how Target didn't know. I was pretty obvious about it. If you Google Jason Cheperdack at one point, it came up. I was not hiding it.
I heard you were taking meetings at the Starbucks within the Target because...
you had to do what you had to do, Laddie. I would take meetings in my car, Chipotle, driving. I mean, you just got to do what you got to do.
I want to hear the whole Target story. How did it come about? How did you run the business? When did you say enough's enough? Talk to me here.
It's a tough journey. So I think retail in general is super tough. It's like up at 6 a.m. in the store. You're gone at the end of the day. And for me, it was just not going to work long term. And my wife and I had bought our first house, and it was a horrible experience. And so my wife said, well, you should get your real estate license. And so I thought, I'll get it. You know what my goal was when I started? My goal was to make $3,500 my first year.
It's not. I would expect a bigger goal.
A bigger goal. Small goal. So I'm at Target shopping around.
How'd you get to that number?
Yeah. But
you were like, I need an extra $300 to help for bills?
No, that was what it cost to get licensed.
Okay.
I just wanted to break even. It was such a low goal. So I started in real estate, and I think what people miss is there's so much hard work in life. And I didn't do anything for 6 months. Nothing happened. I joined a team. Nothing happened. Nothing at all until I got closed my first deal. And I was horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. And the deal almost fell apart. And what do you know? My first deal closed. But the moment my first deal closed, I cut covered my entire closing expenses to get my real estate license. And then from there it grew and it grew and it grew. And then one thing I realized is the number one thing we need to do is leverage people for time. And my amazing crew at Target, which is still friends of mine today, allowed me to do that because they scaled their business while I scaled my business, and I was able to do both at the same time.
That's amazing. I mean, and so it's because a lot of people, what I see in life is like they give up too early. I have a good friend of mine, hilarious, should be a stand-up comedian. He would go do jobs for like 4 or 5 years and then go to the next industry. And you can't. Because that's just when you start getting your traction, right?
I used to be a figure skater. We can maybe get into that later.
Oh, trust me, it's on the list.
Okay.
Keep going, let's go.
So they say to master something is 10,000 hours, right? 10,000, do you know how long that is?
It sounds like a lot.
I mean, okay, 8 hours a day, 360, that's like a bajillion years. Was my math right? 3 times 365, a bajillion. 10,000 hours is so long. I don't even know if I've been a realtor for 10,000 hours yet. But to master anything, it takes forever. And I think people forget that most people's success comes later in life, too. Do you know who one of my favorite people in the world is?
Who?
Martha Stewart.
Tell me about her. What did you learn from her?
She's like a serial entrepreneur. She became successful at 43.
I did not know that. I just assumed all my sheets are
98% sure it was 43. It was later in life that she became successful, and she had so much failure leading into that. And so for me, when I was working at Target, an amazing job, amazing crew, amazing people, and I learned a ton in that organization. Target was an amazing place to learn, but it allowed me so much space to fail a lot in real estate while I was learning and still getting paid in my other job. Okay, but what the sacrifice was like a 75-hour work week every single week and sleeping in my car.
Which I think you're still working that much.
Well, I work, but it's on my own terms. And it's for people I enjoy.
That's good.
And spending my time with people I enjoy.
That's a good point.
That's very important.
That's a good point.
Instead of getting like a half-eaten banana return at Target.
So
very different.
So you started at Target.
Yes.
I mean, you start getting a lot of deals. And for the people out there that are here for some little education.
Sure.
You know, like what? I mean, to give them some tactics. Like what worked, what didn't, what was a waste of your time? Looking back. You know, I mean, because there was quick developments after that 6 months. You got that deal, and then you started moving. How did they start coming?
Okay, this is like not a fun answer for people, but the reality is that your level of competency and what you do needs to exponentially grow faster than everyone else. Because one thing that I realized at Target is if I'm working 55 hours a week at Target, I've got less time than everyone else to do the same thing. I got less time for phone calls, less time for follow-up, and when I make the phone call, I had less time. I would be like running to the back of my office, like going crazy, saying, I've got 3 minutes in between like my boss trying to figure out where I am, touring my store, and now. So it's like, you got to be on it. And so I realized I need to level up my competency. So every phone call I had was better. I could convert faster sooner. And so that came through a lot of self-education, listening to myself on phone calls. I would practice I would videotape myself on the phone in the car on the way to work, and then watch myself talking to people, which was horrible on my way home from work.
But it's important.
Just to get better.
That's why I never really speak in front of people. Like I've been in sales my whole life.
You're doing it right now, though.
I know. I haven't really been on camera much until like this year.
Okay.
So I was at a Video Power event, and I watched myself. I was like, that was horrible. I mean, I saw the first episode of this, and I was like, terrible. However, it's moving relationships forward. I get to talk to fun people. Got to be good for the business. So we're going to just give it a shot.
Why not? But competency.
Competency.
Is very helpful. And exponential growth. And then one thing you do is just layer one thing on another. You get one a good thing, you nail it, just 100% good at it, and then you add the next thing, and next thing, and next thing, and before you know it, you're good at 5 things. And then I think too often entrepreneurs try to do 10 things really well all at once instead of just 3 things really well and mastering it. That was really helpful for me.
Random stat. So I was listening to these guys talking about the NBA. And they were saying it's better to be a guy that's really, really good at like rebounding or really, really good at shooting versus the guy that's like really very good at a lot of things. You need to be great at something, right?
100%.
And then it'd be great at one thing and you can stay in the league. And it's very similar to that because like if you find something that works, you're just great at that. The amount of business could be an entire successful career.
Do you want to hear a crazy analogy?
Yes, please.
It's about yogurt.
Of course it is.
About yogurt, okay? Well, at a Target store, the store did like 80 million in sales a year. Do you know how many little widgets that is? Little things that it was? And then I realized what Target was masterfully doing is that in an organization with 350 employees, they had a team member just for yogurt. Like a yogurt guy.
So they went really granular.
He knew everything about yogurt, and they knew everything about everything. And it's like that level of competency was so big. And so I realized, wow, I'm really bad at so many things. What am I good at? I'm good at meeting people, solving problems. I'm not good with coming up with anything, but if you give me 10 ideas, I'll tell you which one works.
Yeah.
And so I learned very quickly what I was good at and bad at, and then I just hired people around me to solve the other problems. That was very influential in building my real estate career.
The story is quite impressive. I've seen a lot of agents, a lot of people we talk to. We work with great people, and everyone has big dreams. Like, hey, we're going to grow this fast, and we do the same thing on the title side. You know, well, we didn't grow that fast, but we grow like this. It was still a good year. But like the stuff that you told me you were going to do, you have done it, and it's outrageous. And internally, we talk about it. It's like, this is just stupid. This is just stupid. We had to have you on the show. So I talked with our team, and they had this question I thought was really good. And it's something we're going to ask on every podcast.
I'm nervous.
Okay. So has there ever been a time where you were curled up on a ball, down in the dumps, and you were like, can't do this anymore? Now, it doesn't have to be the real estate. It could be real estate. Is it this job? Was it another job? Have you ever hit the rock bottom? Tell me about it and what happened.
Latney, I would say 3 times already.
Yes, please. We've got some content today.
3 times I felt like nothing was going to work in my life. Option 1, my wife and I had been married for a year. We were poor, broke, had like no money, and we were living in upstate New York in the middle of nowhere. And I so badly wanted to get out of there. My wife got an opportunity to go to law school in D.C.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was like, it's just not possible. We don't have enough money to do it. I'm not employed there. We just can't do it. Yeah. And I quit. For a whole week, I quit. And then I realized, our limitations are what we set for ourselves. And so, you know what? Who doesn't know that I don't already live in Washington, D.C.? And I switched my mindset. I said, I live in Washington, D.C. Yeah. And I started calling everyone and getting interviews. And guess what I would say? They're like, well, would you like to interview? I said, sure. Yeah. I said, well, where are you now? I said, I live in Washington, D.C. I'm already there. And so I would find the money to get a rental car because I couldn't drive my car 11 hours because it would break down. So I would rent a car, drive 11 hours to D.C., interview, and then drive 11 hours back to upstate New York just for one interview. I did the 3 times I got the job of my lifetime, which was a Target store manager role.
Did you get that on the third interview?
I got back-to-back interviews. And I said, yes, I'm there. I already live there. I'll interview in person. And they kept on wanting to do Zoom, but no way. Because I knew me in person was better than me on Zoom. That was the first time. The second time was when I quit that exact same job. Yeah. Talk about leveling up, right? So I was about to quit the job. I was thinking, if I quit my job, we'll be in financial ruin. It's not going to work. My wife was still in law school. Money was still tight. We're growing the business. I was like, what do I do? I'm going to fail. And this was like right during COVID. Yeah. I quit my job in a pandemic. Everyone's going to die. Everyone's isolated. And I was like, I'll quit. And during those moments, what I realized is massive action cures all fear. Mm-hmm. And if you're afraid to do something, you need to take 3 times the action. Because if you're doing so much action, you're too busy to be afraid.
It's a fair point. And well, luckily I'm decent-ish at math. Oh, okay. And I could tell you back then you were going to be just fine. Because I saw the deals coming in when you were at Target. But it's always scary to make that jump. It's always scary. I used to do that too, where I had a job and then I would test some things out. And it's good to do that because you don't want to just give it up when you don't know if it's going to work. But
also, if you're the sole provider for everybody at that time,
it's a lot.
It's scary. Yeah.
You brought it up yourself, which I was going to ask anyway, but ice skating career. Yeah. Let's see. First of all, you did it for I don't know how long you did it for. I think you met your wife there. That's about all I know, but I want to hear about the whole career. Where did it go? How good were you? Let's go.
Oh boy, that's a hot topic. Okay, well, I did everything. I think my parents were destined to make me successful at something, but I was terrible at most things. So I was the kid that was like in soccer camp, boot camp, football camp, tennis camp. I was like in every camp possible, and I was terrible at everything. And finally my mom was like, fine, okay, we'll just try power skating. This guy can't do anything. Like maybe like ice will be like the trick. Why that was the thing. And so I got poached by a figure skating person who probably needed another person to pay the bills and was like, this kid should do figure skating. And I started. And
what age was that?
I was 8 or 9 at the time. Ended up being like kind of like okay at it, and but I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And so that's how I got started. And then before you knew it, I was 14 years old and moved away from home and was in an athletic boarding house with a Chinese host family, the Japanese figure skating team, and I was the only person that spoke English in this house at 14. I was like, what?
Of course you were.
Cultural shock, right? And so from there, I ended up traveling across the world doing the junior Grand Prix circuit, ended up being 3rd in Canada, World Circuit Tour, and got sponsored to move to Pennsylvania to train with Russian figure skating Olympian coaches in the World Training Center, and met my wife.
I mean, this is better.
And I can do this.
This is better than expected. This is better than expected. You're welcome, audience.
Not as flexible as I used to be.
This is too.
Oh my God.
By the way, I can't touch my knees standing up. That's a true story.
I think I may have just broken my leg. Okay.
You mentioned earlier the Ferrari was the worst financial decision you ever made. I think you just got rid of the Ferrari. I want to hear about your Ferrari experience. Looking back, it might have paid for itself because you did get a listing. Talk to me about it. How do you look at it all? I
take back what I said. Oh, forever on the internet now. It was a bad financial decision in one aspect, which was that I bought it for a very large number and I sold it for far less, only in 9 months.
Gotcha.
Okay, but it's amazing what a physical thing can do for proximity to others, and it was the proximity to others that changed my perspective. The people that are in that world that I met at different Ferrari events and things like that were exceptional, and it was a marketing tool. I bought it as a marketing device to meet people, get exposure. I'm now known as the realtor with the Ferrari, which is like not a bad spiel. I got multiple amazing multi-million-dollar clients, but the people I met were really remarkable. I met people with like 9 Ferraris. We're talking about like $4.5 million in Ferrari collections. Do you know what their mindset's like? Do you know what their businesses are like? Do you know what they do with their time or how they think about time?
I'm assuming it's very different than what I'm doing, but tell me about
it. It's remarkable. I met this guy. I was like, what does he do? This man's driving a $900,000 Ferrari. He's got 6 more. He's so chill, just the nicest guy ever. Like, what kind of business do you do? And he's like, I do fire sprinklers, nationwide. I install fire sprinklers, make sure people don't burn down. I said, this is remarkable. When did you start? He said, 32 years ago. I said, your business is still a business today? He's like, no, it runs by my kids. He created legacy from nothing. A really cool Italian guy who immigrated to America. And it just shows you, like, meeting him, immigrating from Canada, his mindset, not from Canada, from Italy, how he spends his time is just a complete polarizing shift in how I thought about my life and about what my goals were. And that's who you meet through that car. Yeah. Besides that, I still probably made another $65K in commission from the car, which is great, and was a little bit more than what I lost on the car. But that kind of thing, I think, is where people can take a leap of faith in a physical thing, that it can change your sphere, your mindset, and everything, even though it's a physical item, and it's just a thing.
No, it's a good point. I think the mindset thing, too, when you meet very successful people and the way they think about things, it is a different experience.
And how I felt. Right? Shit. Can I say shit on a podcast?
Yes, you can say that.
I felt so good driving that car. Do you know what it's like to pull up at a listing appointment?
Why'd you get rid of it?
Well, I'm a practical person. I bought it as a business investment for a 1-year marketing plan of what I could do with the car. And I leveraged it, but I'm also a business person. I said, well, if I'm going to diminish my losses on the car, I'm going to sell it. And so I what the crazy thing about Ferrari is I never listed it for sale. I called my sales guy. I said, if you find a guy, sell it. He found a guy and he sold it.
Would you ever buy it again?
I would. Okay. So I bought a Porsche.
Are you considering it?
Well, I bought a Porsche 911 Carrera S in company colors, white and blue, and I really love it. And I'll drive that for the next 2 years. But I think my next car is going to be my dream car, which is a Huracan. Okay. 2020 Huracan Spider. Okay.
All right.
And that car will be purposeful. It'll be based on a goal that I achieve at a time that's right for me, and I'm going to network the crap out of it and make a ton of money.
Check. When you were up and coming, I remember there were a lot of deals coming in, and you had mentioned to me that you started working with a large lender, Veterans United, I believe. Yep. And I was told by someone recently you're the #1 referred agent for Veterans United nationwide now. Is that correct?
I don't know about nationwide, but our marketplace, I believe that's still the case. Cool. Yeah. I mean, so really where it all started is our veteran community. I met 2 amazing 06 officers who are friends of mine today, and I learned about how remarkable it is to be a military member in PCS all over the world and the sacrifices that people make. And I was like, I want to be a part of this. I'm from Canada. We don't have, I mean, I love Canada, but I don't, because like, you don't have the freedoms you have in America. And coming here as somebody from a different country, America's an amazing place. And our military members are amazing people. And I said, well, I want to get in this.
Right.
And so I actually reached out to Veterans United. It was proactive. I wanted to serve our community and serve our military community. And that is an amazing organization. And we've kind of grown our businesses together. And now we're serving about 65 military families each year.
It's impressive.
It's crazy.
It's impressive. You reached out to Veterans United. What did you say? Hey, I'm a guy from Canada. I want to work with you.
No, I had built my portfolio of military business. I mean, at that point, it was highly referral based. And when you serve others, they serve you back. Yeah. I really believe in that. If you serve others, they serve you back. And so at that point, we had already helped about 35 to 40 military families buy and sell, and became a passion project of ours. And so we reached out to them and shared our passion. And it's amazing when you have a clear vision and a mission and a real passion for something that people want to resonate with that. And it's been an amazing partnership today. The remarkable company, and the people behind the company, just like maybe here at your organization, I would assume the same. Yep. It's amazing how the people really want the best for others, and I want to align with that. And when your businesses align with people like that, it explodes. Oh. That's what I love about Veterans United, is the people.
It's great. You were talking about vision, you were talking about values, kind of looking back at kind of what you've done. In this area, you've exploded. You've done a lot of great things. I think you're one of the largest, real estate agents in all of DMV. In a short amount of time ago, you left Target. What's next? What's next for you?
What's next? I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of shifting this mindset where our team is like a boutique-sized team, 21 agents. We're going to sell about $250 million in real estate sales this year is the goal. Yep. And our goal is to find like 5 remarkable agents that are higher volume that can lead a sales organization. So our team can kind of be this base of concierge-level sales and shift the industry. Because I think the whole industry is changing, where a realtor used to be a person that would open up a door and help someone. But now a realtor needs to help with like the financing process, renovations, design, bridge loans, connect with the right attorney, and have all the resources to solve problems that are so complex today that didn't exist in the past. Sure. And so our goal is to lead the future of what a real estate agent should be, which is 100% concierge everything team for the same price as everybody else. Yep. I think if we do that, we'll be the catalyst in the industry to change the industry.
I like that. Now, what geography-wise? You stay around this area? Will you expand beyond?
No, we have no intent to expand beyond. I think that when you have somebody's competency that is so aligned to the specific needs that you have, why would you hire anybody else? I don't want to be known as the person that's like great at helping you transition to Florida. I want to be the guy that knows the DMV with the team that knows the DMV with more resources that are better than anyone else at our core competency.
Dive into what you're great at.
Exactly.
We talked earlier.
We're going to quadruple down on what we're good at. Was Maryland, D.C., and Virginia.
Love it.
Yeah.
I see you on social media. You're doing great on video.
Thank you.
As we're going to see on this podcast.
I try.
No bigs. But I see you travel a lot.
I love travel.
I got, based on some Bali, Europe, Maine. These are some things I'm seeing. Where have you been the last couple of years? Where do you plan to go? Give me some stories.
I'm like the past 12 months, we did Israel. Okay. That was amazing. Yeah. Bali, Indonesia was incredible. We did the Maldives, also incredible. Yeah. My wife went to England, and then we're headed to Vienna, Monaco, and the south of France in 2 weeks.
I can ask. Yeah, of course. God bless it. So at least I'm going somewhere in 2 weeks.
Okay.
This is embarrassing because you went to all those places 1 year.
Yeah.
2018, we had an email from our friends. Let's go to Scotland on a golf trip.
I love Scotland.
That golf trip occurs 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So it took me 5 years to go somewhere, and you've gone to all those places.
You got to get out more.
7 days, 7 different courses. St. Andrews,
a lot of golf.
World famous
I would be
ones.
injured and exhausted after playing 18 holes.
I'm frightened. I've never played golf more than 3 days in a row, so 7 is a lot. And then we have to go from one place to the next.
Sounds
it's a rowdy crew too. I'm a little nervous.
Okay.
We'll see if we can survive. Keep me posted.
Lanny.
Yes, sir.
You're a CEO, right?
Ish.
Yes, okay. Sir. How do you spend your time?
How do I spend my time? So I would say that my goal with spending time is to kind of focus on 2 things. Number 1 is to spend it with clients, and number 2 is to focus on strategy around how we can innovate more. Yeah. Those are the things and when I say my time, those are my work time. And then the other things I do is I enjoy golf. So I play golf and I try to do it with clients, so it's a win-win. But and then I got a cool family. I got 3 kids, a wife, and we do a lot of fun things together. So even though I don't travel overseas a lot, we do a lot. Like my parents have a house in the Rappahannock River.
It gets harder with family.
It's harder. So we'll do Rappahannock River. We'll do Virginia Beach where I'm from. We'll do Rehoboth where my wife's family's from. A lot of like local trips. And the other thing that's good, and it's something to consider for your people out there who are looking to buy a house. So I'm in Alexandria in Seminary Ridge, and the neighborhood houses are close together, which I like. Cul-de-sac wide streets. I mean, we meet our neighbors all the time outside. Like, the kids are out playing, they're running from house to house. We go out there, have a little drink, catch up. I will say this, when I was younger, I used to think, I want to go to Great Falls. These houses are gorgeous, the land's gorgeous. But one thing I've noticed with that is, you can't hang out with your neighbors.
Laddie, I live in Washington, D.C. I walk out the door, I can see my neighbor like naked through the window. I'm like, hey, Jim, hey, Jason over here. I like it. You know why? Because you walk out, I feel the energy of the city when I walk out. It's really important to me. But where I'm going with this time thing is like, as I grow my sales organization, I find it harder and harder to know where to spend my time. And it gets harder and harder to spend my time.
Sure.
You've grown how many businesses?
I mean, a couple, I would say.
A couple?
Yeah.
And so each time you've grown it, sold it, or done whatever, what's the most challenging aspect of growing a company and use of your time?
Yeah. So, I would say, first of all, whenever you start any new company, I mean, you really have to just be fine with grinding all the time.
I agree.
So that first 6 months, I remember 6 months in on this one, I look over to Matt Paulson and well, not many people are looking to buy title or like using title companies. And so, and we always knew this. There's 450 title companies in the area when we started. Like, we need to be different. So our story was not title related. It was more, hey, we came from a history of having some other companies we started. We know marketing. We know how to build businesses. Let's talk about that, at least to get meetings set up and start conversations. Right?
Makes sense.
And so you have to have a different angle. But like that first 6 months, that first year, that first couple, I mean, you're grinding.
That's where I am. I'm grinding.
See hope. You don't even see hope sometimes. But if you just keep pushing through and you're doing the right things and there's a true process in place. And some people, there's no true process. Like, I'm coming into work.
I want everybody to like hear that. There's a true process. Can you define what that means?
Well, I'll give you an example. So I used to be, at one time I was in sales. My last business, I actually walked away from it for a little bit, came back and rebought it. But I went into a sales job and I wasn't the first guy in the morning. There was another guy who was like, I was the first one here, I was the last one to leave. I never heard the guy make a phone call. Okay? I would get in, let's call it, at 9:30, and I would crank for like 2-3 hours and I would make 60 phone calls. They would make 3. And then in the afternoon, I'd go golf with clients. And I ended up doing really well. Point is, you have to be effective with your time and you have to like actually make use of it and have a process. Here, we actually have a process for how are we innovating. Each department comes up with different ideas. We look at them, we test them. Like you said before, if it works, you really dive deep into that. And if it doesn't work, you get rid of it.
Do you believe in the fail fast mentality?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I think let's try it. Like, I mean, I remember at one business I was at, it was hard to get people to try stuff. Like, what happens if we fail?
It's the worst to be like, we should throw the microphone across the room. Like, what do you mean? Just try it once. It could fail and change it tomorrow.
And it's not expensive. And you look at the amount of companies that Google and these other companies buy and they fail with and they keep moving forward.
Or they'll buy a company just to learn their failures.
That's a really good point.
I mean,
that's what they did.
Let's just buy the company so we don't do what they did.
1,000%. And so, it comes down to that kind of, but like, what is the true process? Are you getting new ideas? Are you testing it out? And so, if you have that in place, like, you're going to get there. You're going to be successful. It's just, in my opinion, it's math eventually. It's just how quickly it happens.
Okay, I got another big one for you. Ready for this? Okay. If you were talking to...
This on me.
Yeah, 100%. I'm learning from you. Okay, I love this question. If you were going to meet with an entrepreneur that was going to start a business, as a person who's starting multiple businesses, what would your number one piece of advice to someone who's about to start a business for the first time be? You only get one. No, like, mixing one thing. What would it be?
One thing.
One thing. I'm starting a business. One thing.
I would go back to... You need to be okay with pain. It needs to be like the way it's just part of the process. Like, I remember when I first started a company, I was like, this is so hard. And I remember I was at this point where I was like, what do I do here? Do I go forward, whatever? Eventually that pain became so normal, it was not even a problem. It wasn't even like, does that make sense? It was just normal. It's like, yeah, oh, another painful day. This is never easy. That's a slogan we always talk about. Never easy. So like eventually you get so used to it that it's not pain anymore.
Yep.
It's just part of it. And so I go back to like I think of that, and I also think of like we actually invested in this company with this young person. I wanted to give him a chance, and like I said to him like, hey, you know, we've invested in this company. Can I get a monthly report of like what's going on with the company?
Yeah.
You know, or give it to me quarterly.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years later. Don't get it. Never got it. It's like there's zero chance that guy can ever be successful, in my opinion. If you can't, like, if you have people that are going to invest in you and are going to trust you, you have to really care and do your best to give them the basics. You know, that shouldn't be a big deal. You know, doing even something like that. So, like, that's something I think of because if I invest in someone, I say, hey, this is important to me. I would want that person get ready for some pain, grind through, and just provide the basics, and it will motivate me to help you. It'll motivate your investors to help you.
I've never heard that answer before, but I'm also realizing in my life how relevant that is. And now to the point, I've been through so much bullshit that like shit's just like I'm like in a convertible with no windshield in a shitstorm. I'm just like cruising. It's just like no problem, right? Yeah. Because the pain it becomes normalcy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's when there's chaos, there's calm.
Exactly.
And I feel like for me, that's the number one thing for entrepreneurs is in the time of chaos, if you're calm and collected, your team will follow you. Yeah. But if you're the hysteric one, you lose everything.
Hey, listen, you know, I would say it's weird because I definitely have anxiety. I'm anxious, even though might
Isn't
not
every entrepreneur
be
though?
Obvious, right?
Yes.
But when the stuff that really bad happens, it's like, take a deep breath. It's here. So I think the anxiety is more of the fear of it coming. Yeah. When's it coming? When's it going? Once it's here, it's like, oh, all right, cool.
Let's take care of it. Yeah.
So I think there's something there with that.
Thanks for answering my question.
Hey, thanks for just flipping this and you being ahead of the podcast.
No problem.
As you should be.
Thanks for letting me interrogate you for a second.
Yeah, that was great. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming to the Get Real Estate Podcast.
Real estate.
There is real questions, real answers, and some real estate. And look, at the end of the day, people are busy. I mean, look, there's so many podcasts out there.
There's a lot.
Why would you? I mean, and part of this is like, why the fuck would I do a podcast? but the reason why is because I'm going to bring interesting people on like you.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming today.
Pleasure's
Your
all mine.
stories are great. This will give people a little of information about you. In our comments and stuff, we're going to tell people where to follow you.
Sure, love it.
Find you.
Let's do it. Let's become friends.
With that said, if you want to kind of give a quick little plug.
Whoa, let's go. Find me on Instagram, Jason Cheperdack. And then with the C, and then shepherdhomesgroup.com. Check out my team.
Awesome. Hey, man, really appreciate you coming. It was great seeing you. Thank you so much.
Let's go.
I'm proud of your success. Here we go.
Woo!